wonder if this thing's on. Test, test. So I wonder if this sounds like I've got volume. Well, hello everyone. I have no idea if anyone's actually going to pop in. So, I am going to walk through a couple of vessel craftings tonight. But I wanted to take a quick step back and actually talk about some of the ancillary pieces that you kind of have to work through to be a necromancer in Crowfall. So necromancy is one of the professions, just like blacksmithing and woodworking or stonemasonry. You know, you choose that as something that you're going to hope to specialize in your character creation for Crowfall. I don't know if you've been out and messed around at a necromancy table before. I always have to give props to the animations team here. Take a look here as I zoom in. Dripping, it is a fun animation here. The fact that the blood is dripping off the table, that's so nice. I haven't figured out why. I mean, this side piece here looks really creepy with the skulls, and doesn't that remind you of I don't know, like a steering wheel of some sort? I'm not really sure why all these pieces are, but it's really nice. If you look at all the crafting tables, all of them have a little flavor to it. The necromancy table, of course, has its own flavor. So, if you've never messed around with necromancy at all, hey, well, hello there. How's it going? If you've not messed around with necromancy at all, it's probably one of the most difficult professions to choose for Crowfall. The reason being is that it's not really a solo. It's not really a very easily soloable, craftable profession. So blacksmithing, sure, you can go out and gather ore and use, ore is probably like 85% of what you use in blacksmithing, and you could go over to a leather worker and say, hey, I'll trade you 2 bars for a couple squares of leather, blah, blah, and so you can move your way down the blacksmithing tree. The problem with necromancy is, as I'll show you here, whoops, that's the wrong one here, inventory, is these 2 things right here. It requires minerals. Now, minerals come from stone motherlodes, and stone motherlodes take a team of a minimum of 2 people to take down, as it were, right? And the challenge with stone motherlodes is that you also have to be trained. Specifically, some gatherer has to be trained to get minerals from the stone motherlodes. And it's a very specific skill set, right? So to make an example of that, if you take a look at the passive training in excavation, this guy is minerally trained. So I spent the time and effort. While other people are getting good at combat, and while other people are getting good at other things, my character is spending all of his, at least 50% of his time, becoming a better mineral gatherer. But that only takes me so far, because I still have to find someone to go with me to get these motherlodes. So if I was a blacksmith, I can go solo an ore node, an iron node, or whatever. But to get the things that I need for necromancy, which is the minerals to make these ambrosia, it takes a team. So if you've got some friends to play with, if you've got people to talk to, if you're part of a guild, then I encourage you to play necromancy. I think it's a really fun, it's a deep profession. Everyone needs your help. I will get in and actually craft one so I can show you the depth and the power that you get. But it's one of the more difficult professions for a reason, because it makes such a difference. So real quick, what is necromancy? So necromancy is the ability to take parts that you dig up from graves, aka grave robbing, So as you can see, I have a wide selection of parts here. It also allows you to take optional parts. So, you know, real quick, if you think about it, to make a human, I take a head, a torso, 2 arms, and 2 legs. Right? 6 parts. That's all it takes, is 6 parts to make a human. At least a human vessel. So let's pop in and take a look, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. When I say you actually have to go in and treat each of these, think of the parts that you dig up from the graveyard as gooey and messy and dirty, right? Worthless. They're actually worthless. If you look at Mouse Over, they're barely worth sacrificial value. I have 9 legs here, blue, a rare quality. They're only worth 54 points to sacrifice. They're worth bupkis. So I have to actually, part of necromancy, the first step is taking these necromancy components and transforming them into something useful. So I did that already to start with. So here is an arm from an elven arm. See how it's kind of all gooey looking and red, right? Once I treat it with ambrosia and stuff in this process here, this restored arm, the output is a restored elven arm. So here's also the difference. These arms come with no stats, right? There's no attributes, there's no dex, there's no strength on the gooey arms that you dig up out of the ground. But once you go through and work, you actually do your work on it, you're adding attributes to that vessel. And again, this is where your attributes come from. So besides your training, where you can gather some passive training and leveling your vessel, your raw vessel gives you your plus strength, plus dex, etc. So let's just jump in and actually create one. So I have a colleague in my guild. Some of you may know him. He's a well-known and scary assassin of the name of Wild One. And he's frightening out on the battlefield. You'll be out gathering, minding your own business, and he'll appear out of nowhere. He'll kill you, rob all your stuff. Sometimes he leaves things because I think he's got a kind heart when he realizes you're a noob. And then he's gone like a fart in the wind. I mean, hits that fast. So he was asking me, hey, he's about ready for a new vessel. So he asked if I could create a Fey Assassin vessel for him that's specifically tuned. So I was going to make one on the stream tonight, specifically for Wild One. So let's go real quick before I bring in stuff. So like for an arm, again, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and a torso, unless you're dealing with a centaur. So for the arm, I'm required a dug up arm and a bit of ambrosia. You see these 2 whites here required? These greens are optional, right? These are optional to make the vessels. I hear the word bespoke a lot. I like to think of them as custom order, because I'm a custom order guy. So I have a few bits and pieces that we're going to use to make his vessel even better. Now, as an assassin, I don't think he needs strength bones. Fire damage, he's not a confessor. Piercing damage, crushing damage. Yeah, see, neither of those really work well. I believe he uses slashing. So none of these humoruses, which I have laying around, is any good. But let's look down here. I have Rogue's Hands, which add +4 crit hit damage to the cap. So with this vessel, we're going to shove so much dexterity, and with his custom training, I can actually make his vessel, I can raise his cap values so that he could be even more dangerous and more deadly than the default vessel should allow him to be. So some choices: I have intellect hands, I have critical hit damage hands, I have crafting hands, more crafting hands, and I have strength hands. No dexed hands, which is too bad, right? I wish there were dexed hands. There's a whole bunch of other optional materials we'll cover. A lot of them aren't in game right now. The only things you're seeing in game right now are humeruses up here, femurs here, and then the hands. Now these hands you get from killing zombies. They're actually part of the loot table. So if you're a killer and you're looking to kill people who are farming, you should head out to the zombie adventure area. You'll see packs of 2 or 3 players down in the zombie area killing rank 6, 7, 8, and 9s because they drop these high-end hands, right? Hey, how you doing? How vessels work after I put this up on the big TV. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear about the, when the baby comes, so make sure you keep us in the loop. So, the other thing is these are dug up. So femurs and humeruses. So when you're grave robbing, when you're taking your shovel into graveyards and you're digging up stuff, there's a random small chance that one of these additives will pop out, and you can use them to craft. So far, the extra things we're going to add is a rogue's hand and an escape artist's femur. So let's craft a vessel, and I'll walk you through it. It's a girl. Awesome. We need more young girls playing MMOs. So I'm glad you're having a girl. So here we go. So I'm going to take this gooey arm, right? We have a gooey, crappy arm, but it's epic. So before we do, real quick, let me take a step back. So you saw the color, the qualities, right? If you think about it, a piece of iron ore that's white, a piece of iron ore that's gold. That seems pretty easy, right? You're going to take all that gold iron, you're going to make a gold level weapon, and it's going to be better, right? So, unlike weapons or armor, vessels have a added benefit and an added effort for higher quality vessels, right? So, a white vessel, the one you get free, you get +6 to all your stats. So that's the gift with purchase, right? So when you come into Crowfall and you create a level 1 using a free vessel, you get +6 strength, +6 int, blah, blah, blah. As you level that to 30, you get 90 points to spend here in the attributes that you wish. As you go from level 1 to level 30, you get 90 points to spend. That changes. So the higher quality vessels give you more attributes per level to spend. But it takes more effort to level the vessel. In fact, the difference between leveling a white vessel and leveling a green vessel, which is actually what I'm using right now, I'm using a green half-elf assassin vessel, is 1.7 times the XP. So if it took 400 XP, it would take you 1.7 times 400 to get to the same level in a green vessel. Oh, where to find Order Chaos farming graveyard zones area in a zone. Oh, that's awesome. Well, Monk, there's a couple places. One, around every keep, there is at least one graveyard of a decent rank. Also, if you don't realize this, order balance. So, also, there are, if you're Chaos, send me a ping in-game. I actually have them all mapped out right now. I'm more than happy to send another Chaos person or Order person or Balance person some information on X and Y coordinates. They are hard to find because of all the fog. Monk, I don't know if you've been out harvesting looking for graveyards. It could kind of be a pain in the butt right now because of the fog effects. But you can, if you watch the horizon, you'll see a fog bank that's deeper than the normal fog that you see, and that shows you a graveyard. It's one of the few things you can see farther in the distance than any of the other resource nodes. So, well, let's craft this human, this Fae real quick. So there's the Elven arm. I'm using Ambrosia. I'm going to put in a Rogue's hand. So here we go. So by default, you see how I get Dex and Strength. It's automatically brought in. But just like everything else in Crowfall, I get the chance as a crafter to spin this a certain way to order, right? So if maybe I wanted a strength-based Elven character, I don't know, maybe you're doing some sort of Elven Templar or something. I don't know, it's scary. But I'm doing all my points in Dexed. And so I'm running critical risk. Why? Because I have a stack of dust so I can do some re-rolling here in case something happens. This is relatively new. So in the past, when you had a bad roll, it was just you were shit out of luck, right? I mean, that was just, you got what you got. But the difference being now is that I can spend the time and effort to gather dust and gather chaos embers, and based on the new stats in this game, I can actually fine-tune this and increase by saying I can take away my worst small roll and replace it. So it started out in the 8s. Look, he's now, I added over 3 more dexterity just to the arm. Now I get a lot of people saying, well, what do I care about 3 dexterity, right? 3 dexterity doesn't really add up to much. Yes and no. But if you think about it, 3 dexterity is the difference between a level 30 and a level 31 vessel, right? If you only get 3 or 4 attribute points per level, when all things said and done, this vessel is going to have more levels than one that I didn't spend the time and effort to fine-tune. So let's make this arm. Okay, I'm going to do another arm, another hand. As you can see, I go through an awful lot of ambrosia. I can't tell you. Oh, flawed assembly. See, this is what happens. Even with my skill set, I can get flaws. Now, I'll take that and set that aside. I will use that for somebody else, but I'm not willing to take that low quality outcome. So I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to put in another critical hit hand. It's going to do some rolls up. Yeah, more of this. The reroll system is where you can fine tune. And so you can actually get jewelry and you can actually spend the time and effort and train to help your rerolling outcomes. So I didn't show you guys, but I am wearing specialty armor. This armor is crafting specific armor that helps me my necromancy numbers. See that? They're not great, but I mean, every little bit helps, right? Here's a necklace. Here's some rings, right? If you're going to spend the time and effort, so I'm going to re-roll my worst roll. Yeah. If you're going to spend the time and effort to be the crafter that people come to say, I need a specific vessel that's the best, can so-and-so make it for me, you're going to have to spend the time and effort out in the real world to accumulate the armor, to accumulate the jewelry. So you'll notice that I haven't... so here's something also. So I was going to show this as part of Digital Chai's piece. So here's my details. Let's take a look. Here's my crafting. See my crafting basics is at 5. And if I eat this, see my crafting basics jumped 4 points. Because I have a buff from Sumptuous Pie. So my crafting experimentation jumped. So there is actually food in-game that helps crafters. I'm saving this Bon Tippers for my final combine on this vessel, and I'll talk about it before I use it, but it's interesting. It's I tell you, they've done something really remarkable with Wildcraft cooking. So let's jump in here. I don't have any eyeballs, but you can see here enhanced eyes. So some of the eyes that I've seen in testing, Farsight, Perception, some crafting buffs. So as you can imagine, every one of these things allow you to fine-tune this vessel. And so a month or 2 months into the campaign, people say, all the vessels are going to look the same. They're not. My skill's different than somebody else's skill. My rolls are going to be different than someone else's rolls. My additives that I can find may be different than someone else's additives. So let's run some intellect. Intellect is really important. So if you take a look here, this is telling you what you're rolling for. Intellect on an assassin gives crit hit damage. So the smarter that this character is, the more dangerous his critical hit damage becomes. that chortling you hear that sounds like a tribble in the background, that's one of our cats. So, yes, I hear you. So here's where I dropped the femur, right? So, actually, let's do one without, because I only have one femur. So this is what the leg looks like. See, it got plus 12 dex. That is what the base output of this leg is. Now, when I throw my dexterity on here and I roll, I can push the dex up to 15.93. See that? And then when a small reroll, as I spend 20 dust, well, actually 50 dust, sorry. Now it's 16.2. So that's, you know, again, 16 extra points to the dexterity. Now let's do the other leg, but this time I'm going to use the femur. So this femur is going to add plus 1 dex and plus 1 dexterity cap, plus what I do to the whole, to the combine of the legs. So let's go do it. So, see, now it's at 13.2 to start, and 1.2 dexterity cap. And then I'm going to use my rolls against it using my stats. Come on. Oh, God. This is not great values. I'm going to small reroll on that. 16.7 par plus the dexterity cap. And then one more on the torso, and then we'll talk about the combined piece, right? So here's something interesting. Another one. So hearts and lungs. So I've seen hearts that actually have strength, dex, spirit, int, etc. I've seen lungs that actually help harvesting efficiency, stamina. So again, as you can send your killers, I'm not a killer, but I hang out with a lot of killers. I send my killers out into the world, they harvest stuff, and I can take the stuff that they harvest, and I turn those into better vessels for the team in general. Oh, flawed assembly. Success chance 98%, and I still flawed it, right? So let me hit this again. Success chance 93.76%. Gonna go all con. See how it comes out here. Let's do a small reroll and push his constitution. Okay, now let's talk about buffs. So I don't know if you've played much with the dining and the drink buffs, right? So I currently have a food buff open. See the dined? It's at 15 minutes. That's that plus 4 to my experimentation. But watch this. If I go into the details here, watch my experimentation difficulty. So here's experimentation. Difficulty reduction. So 27 now off the top. Now this is only good for the next time I use it, right? The buff is 20 minutes, but if you read the fine print, which I didn't read the first fine print, and Blair had to point this to me because I sometimes I just skim things. So it's good for your next 20 minutes, but it's only done for your next crafting experiment. So I'm going to experiment on the final combine because, you know, Bond Tipper, it takes a while for me to make it. I'm not kidding. I have to go get apples. I have to go get sugar cane. I have to make red wine, and then I have to get flasks and water, and it's something. So let's do a final combine. Now, I didn't create any Philosopher's Stones this time. I'll be honest with you. I need to get higher quality minerals. I've been burning all of my minerals right now to create ambrosia, to get vessels out for the chaos side. I don't have a lot of leftovers, so... but let's do a combine here. So, I know right now I have a 73% chance. But see, that's only because of that extra difficulty. See the reduction? 12.5. I wanted to bring this to the attention of the people on the stream too. So my difficult reduction is general 12.5, but see I've got this 27 here. So I'll do the math here for us, but I believe it's being brought in on that top number. So let's go to Fey again. So I'm at 73.76 to combine and have this go purple. Now, I got time, so we'll talk it out. This is the risk with vessels. So I could roll it with this blue, but watch this. If I swap this blue, no difficulty change, but now I'm saying I can have a success and still have this thing go blue. Does that make sense? So by me reusing stuff, it's not necessarily more difficult, but now a success is purple or blue. No, if I'm going to spend the time and effort to make a purple, a vessel of this quality, an epic Fey, I want to make sure that when I'm successful, which I am, it is a truly successful vessel. So I'm bringing in a Chaos Ember. So here we go. Look at these base stats already. Plus 77 Dex, plus 58, and I haven't even started experimenting yet. So I'm going to shove everything into this. I'm going to run this. Let's watch the numbers go. 87 on the Dex. And I'm going to large reroll. Come on now. I've got a Chaos Ember. Why won't you large re-roll for me? So that seems odd, but I've got plenty of this. But all right, so let's do a small re-roll and see what our income is. There it is. So if we compare this to my vessel, see, I have a green half-elf vessel. It is a far and above superior vessel, and when Wild One levels this to 30, he's going to have a lot more. You're gonna have a lot more attribute points to spend. So let's go next, and I'll go Wild One Killer Vessel. The other thing I like is that you'll see that it leaves the stamp of who created it for me. That's nice because, you know, as you look at, there are a few things that separate players, right? So if Xenomonk and I are both assassins, okay? And we've both been playing, and he's, just to be honest, he's just a little better assassin than me. But he's running a green vessel, and I'm running this vessel. How does that change it, right? Does he have a better sword than I do? Well, what if we have the same sword? If all things are equal, right? But I am on average, I've got almost 18 more dexterity than he does. And by the time that I've leveled this vessel, I've got an extra 15 to 20 more than he does. God, how much more damage am I going to do on on a standard attack, right? How much am I going to do on a basic swing? So I just can't stress enough how important that your guilds, your teams, your factions, your necromancers are going to be. Yes, the killers are important. It's a PvP game. It really is. But you know what? If I've got, and I've seen it, I see new players out there, or players that have played a little bit are out in white vessels, and I have some champ or some assassin come out in one of my green, blue, or purple vessels in solid gear. It's 2-on-1, 3-on-1. They're cleaning clock. They're taking everything from their bodies and going home. So I don't remember when it was. Both Blair and J-Todd, in one of their discussions, talked about how they were going to split Crowfall's the game, right? So it really came down to about a third of the training, right? A third equipment, and a third the vessel and your attributes. I think that's what they were talking about, right? So if you're only dealing with a white vessel, you're taking 1/3 of your opportunity for damage, your 1/3 of your opportunity to be awesome, and you're already just you're starting downhill, right? You're starting uphill. You're never going to match somebody who has good gear, good vessel, and smart training if you don't have a good solid building block of vessels. So, it was just going to be a quick stream. If there's anyone got any questions, hey Xenomonk, any vessel you want me to craft on stream? I've got parts. Let me look here. It's not just skill gap, Morph. It's really just not just skill gap. Now, true me, there is tons of skills, there's proper rotations, and there's good armor and weapons. But man, if you're in a white vessel, and remember, if you're in a white vessel and you start with +6 dex, compared to this vessel, he's got 81 more dexterity than you do. So yeah, hey, well, Krem, I agree and I disagree. I mean, if your vessel, if you've got a great vessel like this and good intermediate gear, so if you're in a white vessel with intermediate gear and an intermediate weapon, and I'm going against a person in a white vessel, I'm at a huge advantage. So it does come down to skills and knowing your rotation. But I mean, I'm sorry, if someone's sitting on 80 plus more strength than you are, and they're using their skills that leverage the attributes for strength or crit or whatever, again, it's a huge difference. And that's just base, right? So if I level this epic up to 30, what is it, like 100 and, is it 121? So is it an extra 30 attributes? So, I mean, when you're sitting at 110 more dexterity than someone else in a white vessel, you better be damn good. But I mean, you're at a huge disadvantage. I mean, yes, know-how is important, skill rotation is important, but that's like saying someone in basic armor and someone in basic weapons who knows how to play the class exactly the same way versus somebody who's in great gear. I don't know. I feel like we have not seen all of the combat training and stuff in yet, but I think vessels are going to be the springboard for an awful lot of really good and bad experience for players. I mean, if you can bring in a vessel to a 0 campaign, right? So let's say we launch Dregs 3 months from now. Dregs is launched. You can't bring any equipment, right? You can bring in your training, and maybe you can bring in a vessel. So those people bringing in white vessels versus those people bringing in epic vessels, I'm sorry, they're going to get rolled over darn quick for a while. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the skill and damage gap for a while. But any questions? I'm more than happy to answer your questions. I can't show you where all the graves are. I'll send some emails out to people who I know who you are, where some graves are. There are some rank 9 graves in the current campaign, some rank 6 graves, some rank 4 graves, and lots of rank 2 graves. Rank 9s will give you epics. Rank 6s will give you some blues and some chances in between. And then your 2s and 4s you're seeing your green quality materials. Well, that's it. Hopefully those people that are on non-chaos, you enjoy running across Wild One out in the world using this killer Fey vessel. I feel sorry for you. I did have someone ask how many attributes you can get on there. I have seen, I've been able to push a Ganetian of high quality over 130 indexed. So besides, just one last thing, besides for killers, for the crafters, Morv, and a bunch of others, remember, when you look at crafting, necromancy, I get by intellect, right? I get certain things via intellect. So it is well worth your time to get a really good vessel made, even if you're just going to craft on it in an EK. Because that is where, like, you for pips here, I get intellect allows me to push more. So if you're crafting in a white vessel right now, again, you're crafting at a disadvantage versus anyone who's spending the time and effort to invest in your crafting experience. So, well, thanks all. That's all I was going to do. I'm going to go out there. There's some keep sieges going on tonight. Hopefully I'll catch you out in game. You know, I use my combat vessel's name is something you'll never know. I keep it well hidden because I don't, you know, I don't need my head decorating people's walls just because, you know, I'm easy to kill. So have a great night, everybody, and hopefully I'll see you in game soon.